Welcome everybody to another episode of Non-Fungible News. My name is Tricky Boom. Today we have Exo Worlds with us, and so we're going to dive into their project, see what they got going on. Before we get started, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like, subscribe to the channel. We try to bring you updates and we try to dive in, learn who our creators are behind the project. So without further ado, we have Lucas from Exo Worlds. What's going on, my friend? How are you doing today?
Hey, Boomer. Very good, man. Nice to be here. This is very exciting. This is my first video interview I've done for Exo Worlds. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. So, Exo Worlds, it's blowing people's minds. It is, I mean, 10,000 unique planets with different traits, different features, different geographies, different moons, suns, build your own civilization. I mean, you guys have a whole lot going on there, and a lot of people know it's been pushed back a week or two. Which, you know, in some cases has been detrimental to projects, and in some cases has been very helpful for projects, because we all know that little bit of extra can make all the difference. So
yeah, honestly, for me, it's a decision of, do we want to take the chance that something goes wrong on mint day, you know? And I think that the community is very supportive, and they know that it's a really big undertaking what we're doing. So I think that for me, the safest bet was pushing it back. You know, we're trying to get this random mint really going. And, you know, from what my blockchain developers have told me, there isn't a truly random mint process on VeChain yet. All the random processes can still be undermined in a certain way. So we're trying to develop something that nobody can undermine. I even me with the code, I wouldn't be able to snipe any planets, nor would anybody in the team. So it's taken a little while, and they're still finishing up that code. But I thought to myself, man, I don't want there to be any kind of chance for sniping. Certainly not on my team, but also on you know, in the side of the public. Somebody has some really cool tools. They're a developer. They look into the smart contract. They can see the whole order of things. They snipe their planets. So, you know, I wanted to have something ready, and yeah, I have heard that delays have been very detrimental, but you know, being transparent and just working as hard as we can and trying to provide something of value, I think that we've been very much supported. So I'm very much hoping that that's going to be an asset to us and not a liability.
well, you know, you guys have handled it really well. You've been on the Twitter recently and seen, you know, you've seen stuff flying around, and you're still, I mean, you're gung-ho. You don't seem like you're getting down. The team's still doing what they're doing. And, you know, that's really good to see, because, you know, a lot of people would let that really get to them and would put a big damper on things.
Oh, man, I'm honestly, when I came to this project, I was really thinking just about doing an NFT, you know, let's make some planets, let's put it out there. And then the more I thought about it, you know, I wanted to make something really worth what it was going for, and not only that, something that could really push our ecosystem. And so when I see, you know, and it's all about believing in your product, you know, believing in the kind of growth that your product has. You know, the more growth potential your product has, the more you can really stay steady and try and go for that vision. You know, I've got a long stretch of road ahead. You know, a couple of obstacles aren't going to be something that really weighs me down. I'm going to have to, you know, pass through them. I'm going to have to find my way around. But the vision is so there that it really helps me focus. And in the end of the day, I know that I'm going to bring a lot of value. I know that I'm going to make an ecosystem that not only is its own thing, but because the metaverse is so, it's so expansive. It brings everything in within the ecosystem, that the value that I see for it, not only for myself or my team, but for other teams, it's so huge. I don't see myself letting anything get in the way of that dream.
Well, that's huge. That's good to know. I mean, we all know that the community is huge in any NFT project, but the developers, the team itself, I mean, if they're not behind the scenes, putting stuff out daily, the community is not going to be able to support it. So, and I think people are seeing that, through all this, what's going on, pushing the mint back and everything. So that's good. Oh.
We try to really keep up with our marketing efforts. I mean, it's something that I had to get other people on board, because I'm such an idea guy. I'm such a, let's build this thing, let's make it a reality, and let's make it as cool as we possibly can, that I like working in the shadows and just like making this awesome thing and then releasing it when it needs to be released. And so a lot of people came to me and say, we were interested in your project. And so I gathered a team together, and they kind of helped me say, hey, we need to post this, we need to post that. And so I'm like, okay, you guys take care of that, and then I can do my thing and build. So it's kind of like the thing where if you're an artist and you're so focused on your project, marketing can kind of just totally escape you. So I've got a really great team for that. They kind of support me on that whole endeavor.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's huge. So let's dive a little deep into the project itself. I mean, touched a little bit earlier about the different planets, and then so many different pieces. So I mean, what can we expect upon rollout of this baby? This thing's huge.
Oh, it is, man. It is huge. My IPFS server has got 85 gigabytes of 5K resolution planets. It's like enormous. We actually have to like downsize it in the My Collection so it doesn't like load the page for like an entire 2 minutes. But basically we have about 9 visual attributes. We have 14 informational attributes. So basically we have 5K resolution planets. They have a background, they have a nebula, which some don't, some do. And obviously the centerpiece is the planet. We've got 8 different planet types. We've got rocky, we've got icy, we've got desert, we got ocean, we got terran, we got tropical, we got volcanic, and we got islands. So it is pretty diverse, the types of planets. And then within each of those planet types, we have subtypes. So in total, there's about 122 subtypes of planets. And those are combinations of different colors, slightly different terrain features and such. So, on mint day or on the whitelist mint, when people mint, they can expect a 5K resolution set of planets that have like super huge intricacies. And they also come with their own names. One of the things that's the hardest about this project actually is manually going over every name that we've created through a name generator. And it's like, I mean, sometimes you find some silly words, sometimes you find like a profanity. And so we're like, oh my gosh, like 10,000 names. But yeah, we've done a pretty good job, I think, of refining things down, and people get a chance to name their planets once they go through the civilization engine. But we have that, and we also have coordinates. So one of the coolest things is that we're actually going to create a simulation of the galaxy. So at some point, you're going to be able to go in and see this almost like a node graph of all of the planets in the galaxy. So you'll be able to see who's your neighbor, what kind of planet are they, what kind of species are they. So it'll be kind of like a collection overview, but in the galaxy view, where you see little nodes and you'll be able to see informational attributes, all the little details about that planet. So that's pretty neat. And yeah, you get a certain species. So you have sentient life form on your planet, obviously, because you need it to grow into a interstellar civilization. So you have different species types. You also have some surprise attributes there, like hidden biospheres, intelligent microbiome. That's pretty cool. We have planets that have Gaias. So they have like worldwide intelligent vegetation. So there's some cool things out there, some Easter eggs. I'm really excited for people to see it.
That's that sort of thing. I mean, personally speaking, when I find that I mint something that comes with something extra that I didn't know about or nobody knew about, I think that's a lot of fun. That's really cool, and I think that's gonna pique people's interest too.
Oh yeah.
So about developing our civilizations, because that's part of the game and everything, right? Is developing our own civilization. So what exactly is that going to look like? Because this, this is a lot for a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people about this project, and everybody's like, man, that's awesome, but our minds just don't quite go there right now.
Yeah, we're actually tying up our back end of the game to a visual front end right now. We hired a new Unreal developer to handle the front end. We have a really skilled developer doing the back end. We just connected I think it's like 7,500 connections to different variables. So basically, we have different categories. You have population types, stuff like farmers. You have general villagers, you have hunters, gatherers. Well, let's actually start from the basic. You have different ages. So your civilization starts with a primitive age. And at this, it might take a week or 10 days. You go in and you choose a couple of attributes that you want to boost, whether that's creativity, intelligence, strength, resourcefulness, things like that. You go in and you choose your daily boost and you watch your civilization just grow passively. Once it hits a certain stage, and you can also boost population if you just really want to get to that next stage, if you really just want to multiply your harvesters by your population amount, rather than potentially increasing their strength so they can harvest more with less populations. Anyways, you get to a certain population type and you reach the nomadic. The nomadic is where you really start to interact with a couple of elements in the game. So you get, hunters, you get gatherers, food gatherers, you get tribesmen, you get a tribal leader. So you invest in a tribal leader and he'll boost your population types. It's totally text-based. It's a menu interface. So you basically have a population category. It's an entire page where you get to click the certain population types that you want. If you want to transfer one, if you want, you drag and drop. If you want to just make one from an allotted amount that you have, let's say you have a population maximum of 50, depending on how many sheltering units you've made, right? You can order more villagers to be made. It's kind of I would say it would be a text-based version of Age of Empires or Sid Meier's Civilization. And so you have your little icons, you have some things that you can interact with, and you basically assign population types to harvest resources. You can also assign them to assets that you build. Assets are like fields for farmers, or fishing harbors for food collection, for fish collections. And so you assign people to assets, or you have them harvest straight up. Assets are basically improvements for harvesting. So to build assets, you need to develop technologies. To discover new resources, you need to develop technologies. So we basically have these super menu categories. You click on each one: population, resources, assets, technology. We have military, and then we also have consciousness, which I'll get to in later. But each one of these menu options comes down with a sub menu down here, and you get to choose, what you're going to do with certain things. You also get to see how your resources are increasing. Let's say in the resource menu, you have all your different resources and icons, and you'll have these little numbers updating themselves every 10, 15 seconds. We're still working that out if we really want to spam people with a lot of regeneration rates. But in any case, you basically, it's almost like a dashboard, and you get to interact with that dashboard and guide your civilization down the path that you want it to. You want to be very, militarily advanced. You can totally, invest completely in military, but you might have a hard time, funding the caloric requirements of all of your, we have we have scouts, and then we have troops. So you can send scouts to figure out what's going on around. You can see if there's an enemy state. So we're going to have in the ancient age, around the end of the ancient age, we're going to have NPC states, nation states. And so if you have scouts, then you can actually send them out to go see what's going on. So anyways, you have a very, very cool assortment of military personnel, especially as you go, further and further into the ages. You get to informational age, and now you're talking about Navy, you're talking about Air Force, you're talking about, a ground military. So it's pretty cool. You have to basically balance the needs of the civilization. If you invest too much in one type, you might find out that in the long run, you'll hit a dead end somewhere, and you might have either a plague or a famine or some kind of catastrophe. So we have this really cool feature of catastrophes is it's tied to this concept of consciousness that we have. So one of my teammates is he's a former schoolmate. I went to Johns Hopkins University. I studied applied math there. He did neuroscience, and right now he is developing a very cool psychometric model for human understanding. And so he came into this project, and he basically added this whole consciousness dimension. And we have different, attributes in consciousness, like creativity, intelligence, prescience, pattern recognition. And basically how you develop your consciousness will allow you to reduce probabilistic catastrophes. So if you have a lot of wisdom, which is another category, the chances are that you'll really butt heads and get a what do you call it? It's a nuclear holocaust is very low. The chances that you actually will hit that button and go mad, as they say, and do mutually assured destruction is very low. So, you have these kind of Easter egg downfalls to civilization, and the way that you play and invest in your consciousness trees, those are going to determine whether or not you have a lower chance for something or a higher chance for something. If your military is very high and you've got very low wisdom, chances are you're going to hit that button and those nukes are going to go flying everywhere. You might be set back to a dark age. So we're basically working with dashboards for assets and for resources, and then for technology, for military, for consciousness, we're working with skill trees, basically.
Wow.
That was a mouthful. I'm sorry.
Wow. My mind is blown. You guys, this isn't just an everyday group of guys that got together to build a project. You guys are educated, you're intelligent, and clearly listening to that. You guys have not spared anything, any resources to put this together. This is like, I picture myself playing this and just being glued to my computer for 48 hours straight, just working on this. And, it's sounds pretty amazing to me.
We have to map our concepts right. It's like we get so drawn into building all these concepts that in the end, what's the hardest is implementation. That's always the hardest. You can always create in your mind something, and then you have to implement it. So we've had a lot of different features that we've had to kind of cut down on, because we had to say to ourselves, are we really going to be able to implement that? And so that's why I think the text icon-based interface is great. Michael was a little bit tentative. Michael's the consciousness mechanics designer. And I hopefully on Sunday we'll have most of the pages out. We're still working on some of the blockchain integration stuff, but our team is fully doxed, and you can see everybody on the team and what they do. You'll see Michael on there, and he basically told me, Lucas, I want to build a game, and I want people to learn about things, and I want people to basically see this game as a reflection of how things work. but you know, I don't want to suck people into this game so that they're just wasting like 8 hours sucked into this game. I want them to mature, but I don't want them to basically like lose themselves in our game. And I was like, okay, Michael, I don't know how I'm going to ensure that to you, but that sounds good. We can try and do something that's, wholesome and that can help people learn. And he's all about that. Mike is all about, mature interactions and mature time investments, where what you do can bring something to you in your real life. So no matter what it is that you're doing, even if you're having fun, it's something that can show you some piece of truth or some aspect of knowledge that can go with you. And so I'm really lucky to have him. And now it's just mapping on those really awesome features onto the Civilization visual front end, because the back end is like, you can map the back end all you want, but it's really making every piece conducive to the gaming flow. You have to find the right visual mechanics for it to go through. So that's basically what the stage we're on right now. The game is going to release. At first, we thought we were going to do a release a week after the marketplace. It might take some time now. We're saying, Q1 of this year, but I really want to release it in February. But we are just trying to make sure that we have something awesome and that there are no bugs. I don't want people to like have a billion grain units and be able to trade that for like, I don't know, like way too much metal at some point in the future.
So there's going to be people, just like in any other game or NFT project, there's going to be people that just want to buy and hold and whatever. Yep. So in listening to Mad Viking Games, they've said that undeveloped characters in their game are going to be highly sought after down the road, because everybody's going to be building and building. You guys see something like that with your project? Undeveloped planets are going to be valuable to people down the road?
That's an interesting question. I think that there is an aspect of that. I think so, because when you ascend to phase 2, when you become an interstellar civilization, you basically, the choices that you make, the industries that you've really invested in, and so that would be your skill trees, your technology trees. Things branch off in the botanical sciences, chemical sciences, energy as well. So depending on where you choose to focus all your civilization points, you basically determine what your galactic industry specialization is going to be. So if you basically have unlocked a lot of genetic technologies, then you can basically choose whether or not you want to be one type of biologicals. Maybe you're going to choose to be, one of the things that we have is it's bioengineering in general, but then we have genetic cloning as a galactic industry. And so depending on the technologies you have, you get different choices of industry specializations at the galactic level. So if your planet is undeveloped, then you can choose how you want to make that planet come into that interstellar platform. So there is that level. I'm thinking that undeveloped planets, you also have a chance to hit Easter eggs, because as players play and they hit some Easter eggs and some achievements, they will get some kind of a boost, or they will get some kind of a credit, or maybe even a phase 2 kind of a badge or some kind of attribute or benefit. And so if you're aware of those before you play the game, you might really hold all the cards in your hands.
Right on. I this Easter egg thing, I'm loving that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a couple Easter eggs. I don't want to mention it, but it's, if you get through a couple of ages without having, certain catastrophes, or without using certain questionable technologies, then you might be able to get an Easter egg and things like that. So, or if you like, you know, you hit a certain, let's say you hit a certain threshold for the amount of times you're able to succeed in a certain category of events, you might also get an Easter egg. So all we have to do now is really get those down and see what players will be rewarded with when they get Easter eggs.
So will there be like an in-game token, a community token that you guys are going to implement for, you know, upgrading and purchasing things and, you know, to build your planet, to develop?
Well, yes, I think that so the civilization engine is not going to utilize any tokens, but we are going to make a token. We have a token system. It's actually a dual token system. It's going to go into effect in phase 2 with the metaverse and metaverse assets. We have virtual land. We have a lot of things in the works, but basically you'll be able to get tokens via an airdrop. So everybody that gets to phase 2, or everybody, we're still getting the details down, but I'm thinking that we're going to release it upon your phase 2 ascension, your interstellar ascension into what we call the Galactic Senate. But basically we have a system where whitelist hodlers are going to get rewarded the most. Public mint hodlers are going to get rewarded as well. And then a portion will also go to everyone else who also has a planet. So you could buy a planet the night before, the night that it launches, or the night before your cutoff. And then when it launches and we airdrop, everybody gets some Exo tokens. So our two token system are Exo and G creds, short for galaxy credits. So G creds, it's basically a governance token. You also have a kind of node structure, kind of like the VeChain nodes, where the more Exos you have, the more G creds that you earn in the play to earn system. So it's kind of like a multiplier effect, but that's how it works. You play the game, and when you complete certain missions, when you kill certain NPCs, one of the coolest NPCs that we're going to do are xenomorphs. So basically the humanoid galaxy versus the xenomorph, you know, colonies and distributed populations across barren planets, or even within your own planet. But basically, when you accomplish things in the game, you get galaxy credits, G creds. So you can use G creds to buy skins, improve your weapons. You can basically get different stickers for your spaceships, for your guns, and things like that. We're trying to limit pay to play. So we really want people, you know, to win by playing and gaining experience and things like that. So we're making sure that even if you have a bunch of Exos, you've maxed out your multiplication, your multiplier for G creds. Whenever you earn certain experience points, you get G creds. You're not just going to be able to just buy whatever you want. You still need those experience points. You need to be able to wield things. So it's where I think that's the trickiest part, is creating a token system within a game that also inhibits, you know, pay to play, pay to win. Sorry. So the two token system is really great. We're basically going to do staking with Exos. So over an 8-year period, you're basically going to be able to stake your Exos for a 9 to a 6% return, APY. So at first it's going to be 9, and over the years it's going to go down all the way down to 6.
That's awesome. Exciting. And we're not paying to win. I mean, it's getting rewarded as you play. So we're getting close to the end here, but I got my last question is, you know, in a lot of the spaces on VeChain lately, I don't know what the exact numbers. I think there's like 3,000 unique wallets for across the VNFT space, you know, and so you know, it's not a huge community. We all know if we're in VeChain where it's going. So with your guys's, you know, 10,000 planets, 10,000 NFTs, and the price of starting at 2,100 VET, do you think that you guys are gonna mint out, sell out, or are you just gonna leave the mint open until it just keeps on going and going?
We are going to leave the mint open. I'm honestly very curious. I'm very curious. I think that as we release our site and people see the scope of the project, it's going to be a no-brainer. I think that with the airdrop, we're making some calculations that I want to make posts about once we've dropped. But with the airdrop, you know, I think, do you know what the price of MVG is right now? The market cap? I think it's in the,
I'm not sure what it is.
I think it might be in the 150s. It's definitely over 120 million, I think. And so we're projecting, you know, if we can attain that level of market cap, we're basically going to be airdropping 25, I think it's 25, yeah, 25% of Exos for all the hodlers. So anybody that's holding, anybody that's hodled, they're going to get Exos in the airdrop. So basically, if we're able to provide that value, show the community, and our coin reaches a $100 million valuation, let's say the token, then everybody that gets airdropped at an average, you know, an average $2,000 worth of Exos. So I think that there's a lot of incentive for people to hold the planets. Minting out for me, I don't think I'm so worried about minting out, because unlike a lot of static NFTs, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like do or die. If you don't mint out in the first couple of days, people don't see where your project is going. But in terms of a game, you know, as you create updates, as you provide value, more people want to go in, more people want to play, more people see, wow, this is a growing metaverse game. It is very undervalued for, you know, a $2,500 entry price, because everybody gets Exo tokens, everybody gets virtual land that gets an exoplanet once it releases. So I think it's a pretty cheap entry price. And if people are on the edge, they're saying, wow, should I mint, should I not? We have a few thousand left. Well, week after week, I'm certainly going to see that number go, you know, getting cut in half and half and half, because, you know, pretty soon, about in like 2 weeks, we're releasing some trailers for some actual, you know, first person phase 2, you know, like characters walking around, maybe even shooting some xenomorphs. So I think that when people see that value being put out there, it changes the game in ways that some static NFTs can't, without just, you know, increasing their marketing and engaging the community, which we definitely want to do. But I'm always the sort of guy that, you know, I love marketing, but I like to show my value. And I like people to come and see and say, wow, that's great, rather than having be told that something is great. And so that's how I operate. And I'm definitely curious, but it's a very positive curiosity. And I don't think Exo Worlds are going to be on the shelf for long. That's for sure.
Well, I like that. I like that mindset. You know, I like the mentality, because you're right. If it doesn't mint out fairly quickly, it's, you know, doom and gloom or whatever. But yeah, I see a lot of value in what you're offering and what, you know, you're saying about, well, I mean, people are going to see what we have to offer. It's here now. You're probably right. It's not going to stay on the shelf for too long.
Yeah, and if they aren't convinced, as the days go by, they will be. You know, as trailers come out, as Unreal Engine, you know, screenshots come out, you know, people are really going to FOMO in. So it's that whole static versus dynamic NFT. If you have a dynamic NFT project, games, you know, they have life, and as long as the team is producing value, they have the chance for new breath to be you know, brought in. And so I'm very excited. I also have a lot of people I think are going to try and be minting the max amount of planets. So our whitelist is pretty big. We have like 1,500 people in our whitelist, and we're getting a lot of people from tier 1, and they're just 150 people in tier 1, but they're all telling us like, hey, we're going to mint like 7 planets. Can I also have a different wallet? Can I also have a different wallet for tier 2? And then can I also mint on the public? I want to buy like 20 planets. I'm like, if you guys try and buy your max planets, we'll have like 3,000 during the public mint day, and that's going to go by super quickly. So I'm honestly hoping that there'll be still a good amount of planets left in the public mint so that everybody else that isn't in early can really come in and participate. But even if it does all get bought up by a lot of alpha members and whatnot, they're always going to need to have people play on their planets. So if, you know, one of the functions we're doing is that if you got a 9-to-5 job, if you bought 20 exoplanets and you can't, you know, you'll be able to hardly really play 2 at a time. You can set up a proxy wallet. So, you know, Boomer, I got 4 planets, you know, Boomer, you want to play? I'm like super swamped with my 3 other planets. Give me your public address. I'm going to input it on my end and you'll be able to log in with your wallet and you'll be able to play my planet. So
Wow.
that's a cool feature too.
Well, right on. Yeah, no, I think that this is going to be awesome. I'm excited for you. I think I'm in the tier 2 white list, so I'll be jumping in there. But
Fantastic, man.
That's all we got time for today. I appreciate it. And we're going to have to do this again sometime. We'll follow up after some more stuff rolls out.
Definitely. Looking forward to it, man.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate your time and have a good day.
You too.
Thanks.